January of 2006, Vince Young ran off that field and into football immortality. He had just put up 467 yards of total offense against the defending champions. He'd done it with the whole country watching, and in that moment, every scout, every coach, every NFL owner, they all thought the same thing. This kid was going to be a legend. Eight years later, he filed for bankruptcy. He had earned $35 million in the NFL. Every single dollar was gone. And that is actually the least shocking part of this story. Vince Young grew up in the 3rd Ward of Houston, Texas, one of the roughest neighborhoods in the city. He watched friends die. He watched his neighborhood swallow young men whole. Football was his escape, and he was extraordinarily good at it. By the time he arrived at the University of Texas, it was immediately clear that Vince Young was not a normal player. He passed for over 6,000 career yards. He won every college quarterback award there was: the Davy O'Brien, the Manning Award, the Maxwell. He finished 2nd in the Heisman Trophy vote, behind a player who would later have that trophy taken away. And then came January 4th, 2006. The USC Trojans were the defending national champions. They had 2 Heisman Trophy winners in their starting lineup. They were heavily favored. Almost nobody gave Texas a real chance. Vince Young didn't get that memo. He passed for 267 yards. He ran for 200 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns. He accounted for 467 yards of total offense against the best defense in college football. And with 19 seconds left on the clock, he scored the game-winning touchdown himself. ESPN later named it the greatest moment in college football history. Not just the 2000s. History the NFL was watching. Every team was watching. The Tennessee Titans selected Vince Young with the 3rd overall pick in the 2006 NFL Draft. He signed a contract worth $58 million with $26 million guaranteed. He was 22 years old. He was worth more money than most people will earn in 5 lifetimes. And he had a city, 2 cities, Houston and Nashville, completely in love with him. His rookie season was extraordinary. He threw for over 2,000 yards. He broke the NFL record for rushing yards by a rookie quarterback. He led 4 fourth-quarter comebacks in a single season, a thing that had never been done by a rookie before. He was named to the Pro Bowl. He won NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. In 2009, after helping the Titans go 8-2 after starting 0-6, one of the most remarkable midseason turnarounds in NFL history, he earned his 2nd Pro Bowl selection, and he had the Madden NFL 08 cover. His face was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He had endorsement deals with Reebok, Campbell's Soup, and more. Vince Young had everything. So what happened? One night in 2008 that very few people ever talked about honestly. But first, you need to understand how the cracks started to form long before that. Looking back now, the warning signs were always there. We just weren't looking. His 2007 season, the 2nd year in the NFL, was a significant step backwards. His completion percentage improved slightly, yes, but he threw 17 interceptions against only 9 touchdowns. His quarterback rating was one of the lowest in the league among starters. More concerning than the numbers was what people close to the team were saying privately. Vince Young struggled with criticism. He had never been seriously questioned as a football player. Not at Madison High School in Houston, not at Texas, where he went 30-2 as a starter. He had always been the most talented person on every field he'd ever stepped on. The NFL is a place that is specifically designed to expose whatever weakness exists in a quarterback. And Vince Young had a weakness that nobody wanted to say out loud. He was extraordinarily sensitive to failure. His relationship with head coach Jeff Fisher was deteriorating quietly. Fisher was a disciplinarian, rigid, demanding, unsentimental. Young needed something different. He needed a coach who understood his unique personality. He needed someone to build him up as much as challenge him. What he got was increasing tension, increasing criticism, and a fan base that was beginning to turn. On September 14, 2008, in the first game of the season, Vince Young threw a 2nd interception against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The home crowd, his home crowd, booed him. He left the game with a knee injury, and then he disappeared. After leaving the Jacksonville game, Vince Young went home, and he didn't come back. Hours passed. His phone went silent. His team couldn't reach him. His family couldn't reach him. Nobody could find him. Head coach Jeff Fisher had been contacted by Young's therapist, and what the therapist told Fisher was serious enough that Fisher called the Nashville police. Young had reportedly left his home with a gun. The police searched for him for 4 hours. 4 hours. The starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans was missing in Nashville with a firearm, and the people who cared most about him had no idea where he was or whether he was okay. Young was eventually found safe at a friend's house, watching football, eating wings. He later pushed back hard on the narrative that had formed, saying he wasn't suicidal and that the story was blown far out of proportion. His gun, police confirmed, was unloaded and locked in the trunk of his car. But here's what mattered in terms of his career. It didn't matter what was true. What mattered was what people believed. And from that night forward, the story of Vince Young had a new chapter. One written not by touchdowns or comeback wins, but by questions about his mental health, his stability, his ability to handle the pressure of being an NFL starting quarterback. The league had labeled him, and in the NFL, once you're labeled, it is almost impossible to shake it. In 2009, Young actually staged something of a revival. The Titans started the year 0-6 under his replacement, Kerry Collins. And then they turned to Young again. He went 8-2 as a starter. He earned his second Pro Bowl selection. He was named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year by Sporting News. For one brief moment, it looked like Vince Young had beaten the story that had been written about him. He had. The 2010 season brought everything crashing down. Young suffered a thumb injury in Week 11. And when he came to the sideline, something shifted in him. Reports from inside the locker room described a confrontation. Young throwing his shoulder pads into the stands. Young saying things to coaches that couldn't be unsaid. Jeff Fisher was done with him. The Titans were done with him. In July 2011, the Tennessee Titans officially released Vince Young after 5 seasons. He had played 51 games. He was 29 years old. And his starting quarterback career was effectively over, though nobody wanted to say it yet. He signed with the Philadelphia Eagles as a backup to Michael Vick. He started 3 games, he played adequately, but he never got another real shot as a starter. The Buffalo Bills, the Green Bay Packers, trial after trial. None of them wanted him as more than a camp body. By 2014, no NFL team was calling, and that should have been the worst news in Vince Young's life that year. But it wasn't. Because, while his football career was quietly ending, something else had been quietly happening to his money. And here's the detail about his finances that most articles completely missed, the part that reveals just how completely the system failed him. In January of 2014, Vince Young filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. He listed assets of between $500,000 and $1 million, and liabilities of up to $10 million. He had earned $35 million in the NFL. Every dollar was gone. So where did it go? Some of it went to the things you'd expect. His monthly expenses at the peak of his career were reportedly as high as $200,000 a month. He bought cars for family members. He built his mother a house in Houston. He covered $15,000 dinner tabs at the Cheesecake Factory for his entire entourage on a semi-regular basis. He once reportedly bought out an entire Southwest Airlines flight, the whole plane, just so he wouldn't have to deal with other passengers. But here's the detail that changes everything about how you see this story. When Young finally sat down with a lawyer to go through his financial records, to understand exactly what had happened to his money, he discovered something that made everything worse. His signature had been forged on dozens of documents. He had trusted his finances almost entirely to a financial advisor and his own uncle, and he had been betrayed by people who should have protected him. He also discovered during the NFL lockout in 2011, when players weren't receiving paychecks, that someone had taken out a payday loan of $1, $9 million in his name. He later ended up owing over $5 million on that loan with interest. Vince Young wasn't just financially reckless, he was financially betrayed by multiple people, repeatedly over years. And he didn't discover any of it until there was nothing left to save. By 2016, he was arrested for driving while intoxicated in Austin. In 2019, another DWI in Fort Bend County. The player who had once been the cover of Madden, the player who had once been the most exciting athlete in college football history, the player who grew up watching his friends die in Houston's Third Ward and fought his way out through sheer athletic greatness, was drowning. In 2017, something unexpected happened. Vince Young got a phone call. The Saskatchewan Roughriders of the Canadian Football League wanted him. Their coach Chris Jones had reviewed Young's game film and couldn't understand why he was out of football. Young said yes. At 34 years old, living on a twin bed in a university dorm room in Saskatoon, Canada, he tried one more time. He tore his hamstring. He went on the retired list. The comeback never happened, but something else happened in that time. Young said later that the attempt to come back, even the failure of it, gave him clarity. He started working on his finances seriously. He began addressing what he called the mistakes he couldn't blame on anyone else. He once said, "I didn't stop because I wanted to. Now I can't blame anyone but me." In 2021, the University of Texas hired Vince Young to work in their athletic department as a special assistant. He went back to the school that made him, back to the city where it all started. As of 2025, he remains connected to the university, working in a support role with student athletes. He has spoken publicly about his desire to give young players the financial education and mentorship that he never had. His net worth today is estimated at around $400,000, a fraction of what he earned. But it's something, and it's growing, carefully this time, with people he trusts. Here's the question I keep coming back to. How do we remember Vince Young? Do we remember him as a cautionary tale? A man who was given everything and lost it through a combination of his own choices, the wrong people, and a system that failed to protect him from both? Or do we remember him as he was on that night in Pasadena, the most electric player in the history of college football, doing something nobody had ever seen, against odds that the whole world said were impossible? Because that person exists. That performance is still real. ESPN ranked it the #1 moment in college football history. That doesn't get erased by bankruptcy filings or DWI arrests or a career that ended before it should have. What Vince Young's story actually reveals is something the NFL doesn't like to talk about. What happens to young men, often from difficult backgrounds, often without the financial education or support systems they need, when you hand them more money at 22 than most people will earn in a lifetime, and then provide them with almost none of the infrastructure to manage it responsibly? He was let down by advisors, by family members, by a coach who didn't understand him, by a league that didn't protect him, and yes, by some of his own choices too. The truth, as it almost always is more complicated than any headline made it seem. Vince Young deserves better than to be remembered only for what he lost. Because what he had on that January night in 2006 was something genuinely extraordinary, and no amount of money or debt or years of silence can take that away from him.